This video is brought to you by Connext. Connext is a cross-chain protocol that lets you build cross-chain applications and experiences in a secure way. Rob and I really enjoyed their tech because they don't add any new security assumptions on top of the connected chains, as they don't rely on an external validator set or an oracle. Security is definitely paramount in DeFi, so we're excited to work with Connext. Hope you enjoy this video. What's going on, guys? High rollers, Rollup Nation, however we want to address you guys these days. I'm not even sure. We've done too many interviews at this point. I've called you guys a whole bunch of different things, but we're in a different realm here than the typical Ethereum rollup space and L2s, which we're equally excited about for the rollup. So we're here today with Fraser. Fraser's building a really interesting project called Cheqd. I might have missed that, but I think it's Cheqd. And yeah, digital identity is the topic of the conversation today. So welcome, Fraser.
Cool, thanks for having me. Yeah, and obviously part of Cheqd, but also we're launching creds at Nebular this week, so hopefully you'll see that go out today, and obviously part of the conversation here, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think creds is a good topic starter as far as like kind of proof of identity, proof of being somewhere, proof of doing something. Isn't that kind of what digital identity is all about? It's kind of like being able to verifiably prove on chain that you've been somewhere, or that you are this person, or that you own that NFT or that data. Kind of isn't that what it's all about? Like verifiable proof.
Kind of for us. I think the difference with where we're going is everything's off chain, and the reason we've done that is it gives you so much benefit in terms of privacy. So instead of like an SVT being tied to your account, nothing's visible. So like until you share it, you can't see anything. So one of the benefits for us with creds is I can share you a link, I could share someone else a link, and I could share across those links different credentials. And if I don't map the same credentials up, you wouldn't know it's me, and like you wouldn't be able to collude together. So it means I can present myself in completely different ways to different people without them ever being able to merge it up together. I think that's where like NFTs and SVTs might go with like stealth addresses, where you can start like rolling them out. But we've just kept it off chain because it's more private that way. But to your point, like on verifying and proving that kind of stuff, yeah, absolutely, that's exactly where it is. It's like, have I been somewhere? So for example, at Nebula, have I attended? Am I a speaker? Have I done the workshops? Does that mean that like I can demonstrate proficiency in like say DYDX or OPK4, like that kind of thing? As well as just to that point on digital identity, it's why like we've started using the term decentralized reputation, because it's less to do with like, everyone thinks identity is really tied to like your passport or your driving license. When like it could just be a receipt. It could be a ticket that you've been somewhere. It could, to your point, could be that you met someone. Like, and that's less like, feels like less like identity and more just like how people treat you in that scenario. So yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel? Well, first of all, it's interesting points on the creds idea and kind of taking things off chain for privacy. I mean, that's important, right? There's a lot of it's tough to be private on chain. I mean, that's the whole point of the technology, is open, transparent finance. But yeah, it's a bit tough to kind of do everything privately. So I think that the off-chain idea is kind of the logical next step. But furthermore, on that digital identity kind of conversation, we've seen started DeFi and NFTs and POAPs and different types of ways to identify yourself, to where I kind of view it as like this black box in the cloud that kind of has all of my data from Web 2 to Web 3 and just everything combined. And there's kind of like there's just this black box there. How are you viewing about like value capture when it comes to digital identity? How are you viewing about kind of like doing this in a way that benefits users of Cheqd or just benefits people in general?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of bits to capture that. I think one of the things you were saying about like that black box is, I think people are starting to get worried about how much they can have. Like if you're taking ownership and control, how much you're going to have to manage and control. Like it's a lot. So there's been this concept in SSI, decentralized ID, for a few years called agents. And I think it really maps into like where some of the AI is heading right now, which is it will just manage that data on your behalf. So you'll just say like, okay, let's say I'm signing up for public Wi-Fi. I'm never going to give my real email, my real name, any of that stuff. But if it's my bank, like I'm going to have to. So basically start treating it that way. Yeah. Or like if I move house, go update everywhere that I need to have the current address. But also just if there's somewhere I don't care about, leave that for a while. Like I don't care if there's some post going to my old address that just goes straight into the bin. Maybe that's a good thing. And then I think the other side is like to your point, the reward system. So I think there's a few parts of that. One is like individuals getting rewarded for sharing their data, taking that ownership and control. The other thing that we're probably a couple of weeks, maybe a month away from releasing is the ability for anyone who issues that data in the first place to get paid as well. We think one of the problems right now with like Web 2 is there's no incentive to give that data back because that's how they make their money. So what we're doing at Cheqd is make it so that every time that data goes out and gets reused, whoever originally created it gets paid. So as well as the user participating, we also incentivize companies to get the data out the door, because otherwise we found that over the past like 3 to 5 years, they're just not going to unless they get paid. So we're thinking about like using incentives and money to free the data out to individuals, but also making sure they're part of that ecosystem too, and everyone's rewarded, because it's key.
Yeah, the incentive mechanisms of the Web 2 data, like just Facebook ads is so crazy. Some of my friends are very successful e-commerce guys, and they've crushed it because the amount of data that Facebook has on people allows you to target so specifically on ads, and you as the person who provided them with data, you don't earn any of that millions of dollars of ad spend that these companies put targeting you based on the information that you provided. Facebook's just like this kind of middleman that makes so much money off this digital ad spend by collecting data off people. Yes, they have a really good network and people love to use Facebook, but there's like an incentive mechanism here where wouldn't it be nice if Facebook users could just get a little chip of that? And so like, what's your thoughts on like, even further data marketplaces and monetization for users?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the fascinating part. To your point, like obviously this is an area that you know really well. Like one of the things that's interesting for me is even with that ad spend, everyone knows that it's inefficient. They just do it anyway. Everyone knows that like, yeah, you can target people, but most of my ads are for stuff I've already bought. So like that spend is completely wasted, and I'm also getting a worse user experience. Whereas I think where we're moving to with decentralized ID and this kind of, I guess, preference sharing is I can literally land on a website, anything that I've never, like a website I've never been to before, share the preferences of like my shoe size, like the style that I like, maybe it's food, and they can immediately tailor the experience to that without having to like track me, which is going to get more and more difficult with the things that like Apple and cookies going away is going to happen. But I think the extension of that is it's something like we've been told quite a few times from people building e-commerce and targeting Gen Z, where they're like they want a completely unique experience to them, and they want it completely seamlessly. And the only way of doing that we can see is that you land on a website, you allow like an agent or something to share trusted data about you that's accurate, and the trade-off is like you get a one-click checkout, and it's completely tailored to you down to the ground.
And what do you call that? Preferential?
Oh, like just preference sharing.
Sharing,
It's also sometimes called like intent casting. So the idea that like you land on a website and you're like, okay, I want to buy a new phone. Here's what I'm going for. Here's like the data plan that I need. Figure it out for me. Like you pitch to me rather than I'm having to hunt you down. Like you tell me all the deals that fit that without me having to like type in a load of keywords, search through all the stuff. Just make it automatic. Like it's doable.
It's like some crazy AI world of intents powered by Anoma, where we're just absolutely like, we just think of what we want and somehow it arrives. It's like there's no work required.
That's exactly where e-commerce should be heading. As long as there's some control and you're not getting just ripped off left, right, and center, there's going to be a trade-off. You need to be providing some content somewhere, but it'll be so much better. Like I make a point of not, say, using Amazon. I don't agree with like a lot of their work practices, like the way their tax setup is in the UK and stuff. But like their checkout process is awesome. And I would love to be able to have that anywhere without having to create an account. Like a really good example of this is, I don't know if this happens elsewhere so much, but in the UK, if you go to like a museum or a cinema now, you pretty much have to create an account to get a ticket, even if you're only going to go there once in advance. And so you're now creating an account and you're like, I went to the Barbican ages ago and it's like, I have to create an account for a ticket that I'm only going to go there once. Why? Like, why do I need to do that? I don't care. Like, I don't want your marketing emails. Like, leave me alone. And yet you're forced into it. Whereas if you get that one-click checkout, that experience, that trust, without all of the surveillance around it, would be so much better. So much better.
Yeah, so kind of pulling this back to where we are with Cosmos and DeFi and NFTs and these types of things. What is what is the main initiatives that you guys, or main problems that you guys are trying to solve, or initiatives that you're trying to push forward, like within the crypto sphere?
Good question. So I'd say probably two. The one that I think is starting to come around is reusable KYC. It's been talked about for so long. And I think for exchanges, that's still going to be hard because the regs basically say like you can't do it right now. I think that's going to change over the next 2 to 3 years. So we're starting to see that come around. The other thing is just using that KYC for other things. So everyone was always talking about like using it across exchanges. The reality is you can use it for so many other different things, like I don't know, like NFT, like whitelisting, or like proving you're not from the US if people are worried about like airdropping to you. It's starting to become more and more of a thing, but also being able to like then bring that on chain. So Vectis, who are part of Cosmos as well, like they pulled one of our grants down from the community pool. They're doing it so that like your KYC credential stays off Ledger, but they can then put a proof on Ledger, use IBC to check our network, and then you'll be able to like have a KYC DeFi pool with certain policies on it. Yeah. The other one is collateralized lending. So the ability to bring credit scores and credit data from off Ledger and then bring it on, because like a lot of the credit scoring solutions right now are built for existing DeFi users, which last time I checked, I think there's something like 4 million DeFi addresses. Like it's a small number. Yeah,
you divide that by like 6 for the amount of wallets that all of us have.
Exactly. And everyone's talking about the next billion. You know, like these people, like the next billion does not have a transaction history. So we need to get that data on from somewhere else. Bridge it on so that they can literally come up. And the best market I think for this is going to be LATAM. Like you've got so many people where they're storing their assets into crypto because it's more stable than fiat. Yeah. But then all of their financial history and like their credit score is off Ledger. It's like their other life where they pay their bills and blah, blah, blah. So you need to bridge the two to be able to like, they probably, like, I assume can't get finance in certain scenarios because like all their assets are in crypto, all their credit score is like off Ledger and there's nothing bridging the gap. So I'd say those two are probably the big areas in DeFi.
Sounds like my life, truly. Yeah. I mean, I luckily was able to, in the previous bull, like get out and purchase some real estate, but you know, I wasn't able to do it with any of my crypto stuff. I was luckily that I've had a business online kind of in the same e-commerce space since 2019, so I was able to kind of use that credit and that. But yeah, frankly, if you're trying to get a loan, for example, and you show the bank your Bitcoin, even if you've got like $1 million of Bitcoin, they're not going to really care to see it. I mean, maybe Bitcoin, but like probably not.
Yeah, exactly. And then like, if you're in that scenario and you want to start lending or borrowing, like that doesn't help. Like you're still locked in, and you're locked into like a collateral system that just the ratios just don't make any sense. And so I think it's something we want to massively help out in, because the other thing that's coming through is all the regulations are pushing, especially across the EU, individuals taking ownership of that data, and credit scores and credit data is going to be part of that. So it also makes sense for those organizations to bring that through, because ultimately in 2 to 3 years they're going to be told they have to anyway, as in give that data back under the control of users. Yeah. So the whole like dynamics of this just makes sense completely. So
that's awesome. So how can our community get involved as we kind of wrap up? How can we participate in the kind of digital identity revolution? Where can we find you guys?
Cool. Yeah, awesome. So there's Cheqd.io. So like anyone, we haven't spelt it the normal way because short domain names. But it's cheqd.io. But probably the big thing that we're launching this week is creds.xyz. So creds.xyz. And that is all to do with like decentralized reputation, proving who you are, proving what you attended, but done in a completely privacy preserving way. So that would be the big thing, that like if you want to start seeing what digital identity could look like and how to get involved, that's the thing. And especially if you want to start using it, app.creds.xyz, that'll take you straight into the application where you can start messing around with it. So yeah, get involved.
Yeah, cheers for the time and the interesting insights on the, just very, 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 let's just say interesting times, for lack of a better word, for this data kind of marketplace, for this data privacy, for this just overall, with the rise of social media, we're seeing that new solutions are coming and they're innovative for basically user monetization, user privacy, and overall a more fair and transparent digital world that we exist in going forward. So props to you for trying to build a part of that.
No, thanks for having us. Like anytime. it's the right time to get the word out. Like everything's coming through all at the right time, and now it's the point to take advantage of it and really push it forward. So totally agree. So thanks.
Cheers, man.
Thanks again.